Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Are you listening to the right podcast? Because you're supposed to be listening to Three Guys in a Flick. Are you listening to that right now? Then you're in the right place. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
This is a true story. Only the facts have been changed.
Three guys and a flick with Don, Ken, and John. Dive into the movies well after the dawn. From the good to the bad to the wildly absurd. They give a fuck about films. Their voices are heard.
Welcome back. You are listening to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, The Big Year. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from Attu Island, my name is Don. And to my right, we have our comic book guy, John.
Flock, yeah.
And to my left, we have the professor, Ken.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us tonight, a very special guest. I'm going to call him the Bird Nerd. This is Joey.
That seems like an appropriate nickname.
Excellent.
We actually, in the family, have nicknamed him Bird Jesus.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, he talks to the birds.
Well,
Jesus isn't a nerd.
Tonight we are talking about the big year. The big year comes to us from Joey, who wanted to be on the show and wanted us to do the big year. So, hey, Joe, why the big year?
It's a great movie with a great cast that has really good character development, I think.
You're a birder.
I'm a birder. It's very relatable to bird watchers.
Yeah.
And all of my friends have seen this movie and love it.
How long have you been a bird watcher?
I've birded consistently every day since January 1st, 2020. It was my New Year's resolution.
And just for our listeners out there, what is a birder?
Somebody who bird watches, has an interest in bird. I mean, birder's more than kind of just an interest. It's like a lifestyle almost.
Yeah.
It's like a following.
Yeah, well, there you go. You found something you're passionate about and you love. Hats off to you, my man.
What is your total number of birds you have seen?
My total amount of birds in the U.S. is 548 and worldwide 612.
Since 2020?
Since all. Because I have checklists from 2014 when I was in Hawaii and like 2019 in Canada and whatnot.
So you've been
Costa
doing
Rica.
it prior to 2020?
Yeah, but it's not a lot. Like it was once every 2 weeks kind of thing.
Oh.
He's been doing it every day since
2020.
Yeah, no, I heard him the first time. I was just trying to establish a beginning point. Am I speaking French here?
I have a streak of 1,773 days of checklists of birding, which is the most I've ever seen out of anybody. I haven't seen anybody past 1,000.
Well, hey, man, congratulations. That is fantastic.
Joey,
Yes.
when you did your big year, you drove. You didn't really fly anywhere for your big year.
Yeah.
Do you know how many miles you did and how many states you hit?
Miles last year, I believe, was 49,865. And I think I did 42 states. It was every state except for Alaska, Hawaii, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. I think that's it.
And just out of curiosity, do you have a job?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Kind of part-time.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must
But I was
be
able
nice.
to travel a couple times last year for work to Denver and San Francisco. Well, San
Hey.
Jose, but
Two birds, one stone.
I just have one more question.
Oh, please, by all means.
I'm just curious about this too. What is the furthest you have driven, like state-wise or whatever, just to see one bird?
just to see one bird, I drove from Seattle to Spokane for a black-throated blue warbler. I've seen two of those.
Go ahead.
It's an East Coast warbler. I've seen two of them, and both of them I've seen in Washington State. And I've been to all 50 states, and I've only ever seen two, and they're both in Washington, which is the craziest fact to me.
I thought for sure he was going to say, yeah, East Hampton, New York. He from Seattle. He goes to Spokane.
One of his last trips, he just freaking drove up to Alaska to see a bird.
In July.
So wouldn't that be the farthest?
But with
No,
that,
it wasn't just for one bird. It was to get the state.
yeah.
In July, I drove from Alaska to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of driving.
Yeah.
And when he goes on these trips, where do you sleep, Joey?
In my car. Yeah.
He just stops at rest stops and sleeps in his car.
Yeah. So if any serial killers are listening, now you know.
Yeah, it's discreet because it's just a regular car. Like I slept on the streets of Key West, Florida, which it's illegal to vehicle camp in Key West, but I got away with it because I'm not in like a van or an RV, so it's like nobody even notices.
Breaking the law.
Exactly.
Watching birds.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking living the life, my man.
These birders are dangerous.
Living the life. Released on October 14th, 2011, The Big Year was directed by David Frankel, written by Howard Franklin, based on the book A Tale of Man, Nature, and Foul Obsession. And it stars Steve Martin, Jack Black, Owen Wilson, Brian Dennehy, Angelica Houston, Rashida Jones, Rosamund Pike, Diane Wiest, JoBeth Williams, Kevin Pollak, Joel McHale, Jim Parsons, and a bunch of other birders.
How'd this movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $41 million and brought in a whopping $8 million.
Which is surprising. This has got such a great cast, and it's a great movie.
That surprises me so
Okay,
much.
well, I think both of you don't know really what the word great means, but we'll get into it. Professor, had you ever seen this?
Never even heard of it.
Okay, well, there you go. John, had you seen this before?
I had seen it at least once at the behest of Joey.
Of course. And I won't even ask because, well, fuck, we're here because of the bird nerd.
Had you seen this movie before?
I had seen it once. And
Really?
Yeah. And I remember watching it because really, and we'll just jump into the cast right now, Jack Black can really do no wrong in my book. I think he's funny. I think he plays Jack Black in everything he does, but I like that character, so it doesn't bother me. And so going into this, Steve Martin, I mean, fuck, come on. And then every now and again, Owen Wilson. But it wasn't that funny. And
that's the irony of it, because you have these three main characters are known for comedies.
yeah,
And having the three of them together, you're thinking, okay, this should be a chuckle fest at least. And
Yeah.
it wasn't even that.
not even that.
I think
And
there's five good
and
jokes in here.
and clearly they did it on purpose, which is fine. And they thought outside of the box. And to me, it was very underwhelming. And I remember thinking that the first time I saw it.
For me, it felt like each one of them, to me, is a comedic genius, is a comedy genius. But it felt like they were each playing half a role. Like Steve Martin, for me, it felt like he was playing the same character, Neil, from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but without the anger issues, without the little bit of slapstick. Jack Black, funny, but no slapstick, and he's known for doing some slapstick stuff. And Owen Wilson, again, it felt like almost half a performance. Like you were getting a comedy and a drama, so you're getting a dramedy, but it needed more comedy, if that makes sense.
There's only a handful of like actual laugh out loud jokes in there,
Yeah.
which it should have a lot more.
I think it needed more birds.
I think that this movie probably underperformed in the box office because it just wasn't believed by the studios as well. I'm guessing that they did not, push this movie at all, despite having, a strong talent that was representing, the movie at the time. Because when it was released, the first week that it was released, it hit in the top 10. It was like at number 9, and it was in 2,000 theaters. But the second week, it had dropped to 12, and it was still in 2,000 theaters. But the third week, it was in 400 theaters. In the fourth week, it was in 200 theaters. And in the fifth week, it was under 100. And so that, to me, I'm thinking that the studio didn't push this movie at all. And it should have been a straight to video movie, I think.
Can you imagine the pitch? I want to make a movie. All right, that's great. What do you got? It's a movie about bird watching. Wait, before you close the door, Steve Martin, Jack Black, and Owen Wilson. And someone said, that sounds like a great fucking idea. And, well, this is what we got. So
This is what we got.
Well, what also really helped was Joel McHale, who I don't know if you know, but I went to high school with. And so I know the guy. He's a really nice guy.
well, there you go.
So,
Name drop.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just like to point that out.
Subtle.
Yeah. Fucking attention whore.
One of the things I read about this movie, again, going to why it performed the way it did, is I think obviously they expected a huge draw for bird watchers, birders. But Joey, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There were a lot of things that turned birders off in this movie. There were birds that appeared where they shouldn't have appeared. When there was the fallout, usually birds aren't up in the air, they're on the ground. So the birders tore this movie apart when they gave their ratings of it. They said that there's just so many little things in here that wouldn't have happened in real life for birders going out and birding.
But that's the best part, is because it's pretty much the only bird watching movie out there. Like, there really isn't a lot, so you can be nitpicky against it because there's no other option. Like, it's the worst bird watching movie, but it's also the best because there's not really anything to compete against.
Wait, Professor, are we talking about bird watching?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I mean, Hollywood's got to run out of ideas if we're making movies about bird watching. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, there's a statistic where it's like 1/3 of Americans are interested in somewhat in birding.
Was there anybody else in the cast that stood out to you?
I love seeing Brian Dennehy. I thought very believable as Jack Black's dad.
Yeah.
And I really
Very
liked that
much.
relationship. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Angelica Houston's always fun. She's in it for like 2 seconds.
I didn't even realize the first time we went to the boat that was Angelica Houston. It
Yeah.
wasn't until they went to the house
Same.
that I realized, oh my God, that's Angelica Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
At the Annie Aucklet character? Okay.
And then Rosamund Pike. I really liked her character in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And JoBeth Williams and Diane Wiest, all notable actresses. And
Rashida Jones.
I love Rashida Jones in
Yeah.
anything.
Rest in peace. Her father just passed away.
Quincy.
Yeah.
Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak's in it for 2 seconds. Joe McHale. I was surprised to see that.
I know him, right?
Yes. Do you know who executive produced this movie?
No.
Ben Stiller.
Really?
Yeah, makes sense, right?
He would have been a good get into the movie, actually, I think.
I think he could have played the Owen Wilson role better than Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of a dick, right? Which made him less funny.
Well, originally they were supposed to have Steve Carell and Dustin Hoffman. They were both signed to this movie, or attached to it, but dropped out.
I don't know if better actors make it any more interesting to me.
Steve Carell, the way he plays, like his, was it 30-year-old virgin?
40-year-old
virgin. If he had played that type of character, I thought it would have been kind of more interesting. Like, he would have been that Jack Black character, I'm guessing.
I think in this movie, he would have played the character that he kind of plays in Evan Almighty, which is an all-right movie, but I don't think that's the personality you want for this.
It's better than this fucking movie.
Oh, no.
That's a different podcast for a different time.
What other Owen Wilson movie have we reviewed? And he's not one of the main characters. He is a character, but not a main character.
I know.
God damn it. I think both of you know.
Not a big fan.
No, you weren't. And as soon as you tell me, I'm going to fucking hit both of you. What was it?
Life Aquatic?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Yep. What about Jack Black? We've had 2 Jack Black movies.
Waterworld. Thank you.
That's
and not Saving Private Ryan. We haven't done School of Rock, have we?
No, we have not.
I just watched it again.
It's a fun watch.
Oh, fucking solid. Might be my favorite Jack Black movie.
Same.
The other one was, do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
What was it?
Welcome to the jungle.
Ah, Jumanji. Good call.
Is it Jumanji? Oh, the new ones.
Yeah.
I was thinking the original.
Speaking of them, let's go through the top 3. What is your favorite Steve Martin movie?
Oh, fuck.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
That's yours?
Mm-hmm. And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's a classic.
I really like him in Bowfinger. And I don't know, even though it probably doesn't really hold up now, The Jerk.
I was going to say The Jerk. It's not PC, but I think it's one of the reasons I love it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
Do you know who Steve Martin is?
Yeah, I can picture his face. I knew it when I first watched the movie. I knew who he was. I can't think of a movie, though.
So The Big Year?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give him The Big Year.
Fucking Three Amigos, Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of solid Steve Martin
movies. What's the
movies out
marriage
there.
one of his daughter?
Oh, Father of the Bride?
Father of the Bride. I was trying to remember that one earlier.
Oh, my God.
What Steve Martin movies have we reviewed?
Well, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Absolutely.
That's the only one, right?
Nope. He has a bit part in another one.
Oh, the Muppet movie.
The Muppet movie.
Bazinga!
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I like that.
Jack Black, your favorite Jack Black movie?
School of Rock.
School of Rock.
Second, Tropic Thunder.
I just said to Joey in the car right over here, Tropic Thunder was one of my top ones with him.
I love Tropic Thunder, and I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Yeah. When we
should-
review that one,
We need to review that.
We really do.
we'll have to tap dance a little bit, but yeah.
What's
No,
your
we won't. I don't give a fuck.
favorite Owen Wilson movie?
Oh, I really like Starsky and Hutch.
Of course you do.
Wedding Crashers.
We didn't ask Joey his favorite Jack Black movie.
A Kung Fu Panda. I think his voice acting is top tier on that one. He really gets the character across.
And I know what you will say for Owen Wilson's favorite movie. So, but what did you say for Owen Wilson?
Well, why don't you just go ahead and answer for him then?
I'm not going to.
Why? You just
They
told
already
us
know.
you know, so
Because-
go ahead and just no. You've already put it out
Because he's
there.
told me before.
Okay, well then tell us.
Cars.
Yeah, it's Cars.
That's solid fucking choice.
Yeah.
And
That's, that's one of the best.
Solid choice because Cars is one of my favorite Pixar movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
really?
Better than that fucking house movie with the balloons. That's for fucking sure.
I think
Really?
Ratatouille and,
Oh, yeah.
and Cars are the top Pixar movies.
All right, now I have to kick you in the balls. Okay, you had me at Cars, but then you lost me at the.
And then Cars 2. Oh, it's catastrophe.
Very underrated.
No, that movie's terrible.
No, underrated. We'll get into it later. We'll get into it later.
when we
Uh,
review Cars.
yes. Professor Owen Wilson.
Wedding Crashers.
Oh, solid choice.
I was going with Cars as well. Normally, Owen Wilson annoys me, but I loved him in Cars.
Anyone else in this cast that jump out at you?
Well, since we're finishing up here, what Kevin Pollak movies have we reviewed?
I knew you were going to say that, so I have prepared. This one, Usual Suspects, and You Can't Handle
Oh,
It.
yes.
Oh,
A Few Good Men.
There's one more.
I was trying not
Oh.
to say the porn name.
God,
He plays a bit part.
of course he does.
Oh, yes. Willow.
That's it.
Oh, he's in Willow?
He's one of the little pixie guys.
Oh, that's right. He is in Willow.
David Frankel, the director. So he has directed a couple other movies, but this was right. So he did Marley and Me, and then he did The Devil Wears Prada, and then he did The Big Year. For the most part, he spends a lot of his time with TV miniseries and TV movies.
Have you seen Marley and Me?
No, but I heard that it'll make you cry every time.
That's got Owen Wilson in it, too, right?
Oh, there you go. Yes,
Yep.
it does. What about The Devil Wears Prada? Any takers here?
Yes,
It wasn't bad.
Nope.
I liked it.
it was good.
Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah. Emily Blunt. My man.
Have you seen either of those, Joey?
I only know Devil Wears Prada from The Office references.
All right, so just out of curiosity, Joey,
Yeah.
how many pods do you listen to?
Oh, and road tripping, like one.
Just one pod? So you're very monogamous and you just stick with one show.
Yeah, somewhat. I mostly don't listen to podcasts, so I kind of just listen to music while driving.
How many times have you watched the series Office all the way through?
6, I believe.
You want to know what the big thing is he has over this movie?
Yes, tell me.
He has seen a snowy owl.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why it took Owen Wilson's character so long to find a snowy owl. Like, he was in Attu Island. They breed on Attu Island. It really should not have been that difficult.
Yeah, and I'm with you. The Fallout, they should have been on the fucking ground.
Well, not in Texas.
I mean, come on.
But
What the
Pink-footed
fuck
goose-
are the filmmakers thinking? Do
Pink-footed
we
goose
want to
would have
make
also
this
never been in
dramatic
Texas.
at all or try to build it up? Fuck no. Let's keep it fucking accurate. Fucking horse shit. It just dropped another fucking point. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Don, is it about that time?
It is, but not for what you think. Tonight, we are going to see how much birding Joey really knows. We have compiled a list of bird calls, and for everyone he gets correct, he gets a point. And what does the point scale add up to? Nothing.
Oh, they're not
Just
redeemable?
like the big year. Okay.
Oh,
here
can
we
I
go.
get Blockbuster bucks or whatever they have?
You know what? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you
I'll
can.
take that.
Okay.
Or Kohl's Cash.
Cole's Cash. Did you hear that, John? You're on the hook for Cole's Cash. So for however many you get correct, John will give you the equivalent of 5 Cole Cashes.
How about
Okay.
this? He gets to go another month without paying rent.
Oh, wow. What do you think about that, Joe? Nah?
I have a car I can live in. Are these all Pacific Northwest birds?
I guess you're just going to have to wait and hear.
Bird number 1.
Okay. Red-winged blackbird in the background. Am I distinguishing all of them?
No, it's just one bird.
Just one bird?
Yeah,
okay, I'm
that's-
going to go red-winged blackbird.
That is incorrect.
Okay, but there were red-winged blackbirds in the background. That's what I was picking up on.
Well, there was only one bird, so I don't know what you were hearing.
Yeah, no,
and
there's
that
definitely
was
red wing
a
blackbird song.
golden plover.
Oh yeah, I've never heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all coming.
Wait,
from
wait, hold
our
on.
Website.
Pacific golden plover or American golden plover?
American.
Okay, because that one's mentioned in Big Year.
It is.
Yeah, there you go.
That was Jack Black's favorite bird.
Yes. And
Look at you.
They should have chosen a better picture of it because that bird is beautiful in breeding plumage.
That's why I picked it.
Of course it was. Of course
Yeah, I've
it
never
was.
heard that.
All right. 0 for 1.
Okay.
You're
Can I
not
get
off to a
half
great
point
start.
For the red wing blackbirds in the background.
No, there was not.
Yes,
Red
there
ring.
was.
No, there wasn't.
You can do it. You can play it.
I'm not going to because you were wrong. You're 0 for 1. Shut your fucking mouth. Here is round 2.
All right. There's that red wing blackbird in the background again. This sounds like a sort of a rail species, maybe, or a crane. Ooh, it also kind of sounds like a quail. I'm gonna go with Virginia rail.
That would be incorrect as well. It was an American coot.
Oh, yep, that's a rail species.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's in the rail family, or it's like very close.
You know what? I'm going to have to take your word for it because I would have no fucking idea.
They,
So, what do you think, guys? Should we give it to him?
No,
Sure.
no, don't give me that.
Okay.
I don't want your pity.
I'm not. You're not getting my pity. I mean, you were pretty fucking close. Round 3. Sounds like a hearing test.
It's a passerine. I know that. Is it warbler family or like maybe a vireo? I don't think it's a vireo. It's not chirpy enough.
Why the fuck would I know that?
You're not giving.
It's
You're
got,
not
I
giving
think it's a
Ken or I
warbler.
a chance to guess.
I think it's a warbler. It's a song. I know it's a song. Let's go chestnut-sided warbler. I've never heard it, but no, I know it's not a chestnut. Hold on, I know that song.
Should you
Man,
play
I
it
got
again?
no. Wait, can I hear it again? Not brown creeper. Oh, what is it? Not maybe bush tit? No.
Bush tit?
Oh, I know it too now. Now that I'm hearing those squeals, those even.
All right, I'm going to need an answer there, guy.
I'm gonna go golden crown kinglet.
That is absolutely fucking incorrect
What is
again.
it? What is it?
It's a cedar waxwing.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Yes, clearly,
Yeah, I should've
clearly,
gotten
this
that. I
fucking
should've
guy.
gotten that. It's
All right.
not even a warbler.
All right, 0 for 3.
All right.
You're really shaking my confidence here. I was going to put some serious money down
All that cold
on
cash.
your fucking success, but you're kind of fucking me here. Okay, round number 4.
Okay. I know it. Can't think of it though. I'll go Virginia rail or Sora here.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're fucking wrong again. Bar-tailed godwit.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Well.
That's very rare here. I've heard marbled godwit.
And round number 5.
Oh, it's a raptor, diurnal raptor, like crested caracara. That's falcon species. I think we're in the falcon species here. I'm gonna go peregrine. Is it peregrine falcon?
It is a peregrine falcon. Congratulations.
Sound like a falcon.
Yeah.
Peregrine falcon is the fastest animal in the world.
Really?
It speeds over 250 in a stoop. They dive like face down.
Yeah, well, he looks like a badass,
Terminal
that's for sure.
velocity.
You do
Yeah.
have a bush tit on there.
Peregrine falcons also have black stripes under their eyes, which are called Malheur stripes, and those are to keep the sun glare out of their eyes when they're traveling at high speeds.
Wow. 1 for 5. I've seen worse.
I was close. I was on the families nearly every time.
Hey, Ken, how many would you have gotten?
I would have gotten 0.
Okay. Yeah, I would have gotten 0 as well. So he did better than I would.
There are 3 seasoned birders who each set out to achieve a big year. Brad Harris, a 36-year-old computer programmer based in Baltimore, Stu Pressler, founder and CEO of a New York company bearing his name, and roofing contractor Kenny Bostic, who holds the current big year record of 732 birds. Bostic is obsessively possessive of his record, but his third wife Jessica is concerned this was supposed to be the year they focused on conceiving a child. She also believes that Bostic's birding obsession is what destroyed his 2 previous marriages. He is so competitive that the others use his name as a kind of an expletive. Bostic. Brad is a skilled birder who can identify nearly any species solely by sound and hates his job maintaining the operational software of a nuclear power plant in Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. Living with his parents after a failed marriage and an aborted career at Dell and dropping out of grad school, he hopes that doing a big year will give him a sense of purpose and possibly even make his father proud of him.
So the movie opens with a title card, and we got to hear that from Joey. This is a true story. Only the facts have been changed. It sounds very Steve Martin-y. And then we have a narration that happens from Brad, and he's explaining why he loves birds so much.
What did you guys think of this opening bit here when we are kind of being told what's going on?
It was fine. We have an opening with John Cleese. He briefly explains, he's a narrator, and he's briefly explaining what the big year is.
I didn't know that was John Cleese. I thought it was like a weird version of Jack Black's character. Like he was telling us the story. Because I think it is supposed to be his point of view.
Well, he's the narrator throughout the rest of the movie.
Wasn't the beginning a British accent, though?
Yeah.
Oh, is it two different guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's how much it stuck with me.
Well, I recognize John Cleese's voice is all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so then from there, we get the explanation of what the big year is. So what is the big year, Joey?
Well, a big year specifically in this movie is trying to see as many species in one calendar year as you can in, they say North America, but really it's Canada and the US, which is actually a big year now. If you consider in those regions would be an ABA big year, which ABA stands for American Birding Association, which is that region would be Canada and the US.
Ah, well, there you go.
So North America.
Except for Mexico and the Central American cities.
That's
countries.
fair. Right.
Yeah.
And so this competition that takes place, the big year, it's strictly honor. And is there any empirical data or is there any proof that you need to have with pictures?
Yeah, in this one, not really, but this was also 2011, 2013 when this
11.
movie? 11. So cameras weren't as accessible as they are now. Like you have a camera in your pocket now. So especially with rarities nowadays, like eBird reviewers aren't really going to take your word for it unless you're like a super seasoned birder that's well known, or you have a photo. So you basically just always need a photo of something.
And see, that's kind of where I was at. We get this kind of introduction to what the big year is, and we find out that Owen Wilson's character is the reigning champ. And I was thinking to myself, you got to take a picture? Do you have to verify it or something? And then later on, Steve Martin's character tells us, yeah, no, at that time, it's kind of the honor system. And I was like, what the fuck is that? But then I started thinking, well, I guess if you have a passion and you really want to do it, blah, blah, blah. But there was no concrete proof of winning. So in my competitive head, I was like, fuck that game. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
We meet Kenny Bostic, and then briefly we meet Jessica, and then we meet Stu.
What do you guys think of Bostic as a character?
Right away, I think you kind of dislike him. It comes out pretty obvious that he is choosing. First of all, you know exactly the type of person he is because he's always chosen the birds over his family, over his relationships, because it's mentioned he's on his third marriage, and that one seems to be falling apart because he's deciding to do this big year because he doesn't want his record broken. So already you don't like him that much.
Well, you're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
He's our antagonist for the story. We need to have an antagonist in order to make the story somewhat interesting.
Somewhat interesting. I thought that the character was unlikable, like you said, and, being the antagonist. And I got to tell you, the whole subplot of him wanting to start a family, I thought was kind of annoying. So, there was that.
Yeah, I figured that, from the outset of the movie that we're going to see that this sub-story that we have with his wife is going to clearly be something that is an entanglement to his quest in this movie.
Right.
One of the things I did like about his character, or I liked about the storyline, was, yes, right from the beginning, we don't like him, but throughout the movie, you actually see some kind of positive sides of him, and you start to like him a little bit more, especially with his interactions with Steve Martin.
I think his honesty as a character with the development of that character, I think was really good.
Yeah, it gives him buoyancy.
Yeah, because he's super disliked at the beginning, but I mean, as you see, he's not lying about birds and stuff. He doesn't become that much of a pain of a character to be around.
Sure.
He's just playing the game.
Yeah. And he's actually really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we meet Stu, Steve Martin's character, and it's his last day, or he's getting ready to retire. And Joel McHale and Kevin Pollak are like, no, dude, you can't go. And he's like, I'm fucking done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So right away, I know that Steve Martin is super wealthy and can do whatever the fuck he wants. And what he wants is a big year. And so we're introduced to him and his wife. What do you think of Stu as a character?
I like that he was the antithesis of Bostic, in that here Bostic is going out and doing this against his wife's wishes, whereas we have Stu who's doing it with the complete support of his family, of his wife.
Sure.
And already, I liked him. And like I said earlier, I almost felt like we were watching Neil again from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, Neil the next morning after Dale leaves.
After he'd gotten his anger under control.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reminded me more like his character that he plays Only Murders in the Building.
Yes. Fantastic show, by the way.
Yes, it is.
I really dig that. I thought he was a delight, and he did really well with what he was given.
Joey, do you ever run into some rich birders?
Very rarely, because usually you can't get a lot of money if you're bird watching because you don't put as much time away into work because you're always out doing stuff.
What did you think of Steve Martin's character?
I think it's pretty good. I think starting him off in Colorado as the character of like showing him in New York and then he's in Colorado at the start of the year, I think shows that he's just able to get around way easier than the others.
Well, yeah, he's fucking rich.
Yeah, I think that puts on, and the set of the house in Colorado,
Yeah.
I think shows really how wealthy he is.
I
Yeah,
love that
absolutely.
Beautiful house.
And then we are introduced to Jack Black's character, and he's at work. Anthony Anderson's in this as well. He plays his boss.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he's talking about birding, and we know that he lives at home. What'd you guys think of Brad?
I thought it was a good introduction. We got everything that we needed to know about him, in that he's divorced, he's living at home, and he's in a job that he hates. And all he really cares about is birds because he listens to the birds on his headphones all the time.
Yeah, he's a likable enough character. I think that his character, why would you not like him? He's meant to be our protagonist. He's our narrator.
Yeah. He's lovable.
Yes.
Lovable.
I do want to add in that opening scene when they show Brad's character is one of the first mistakes that I saw in the movie where they zoom in on all the gulls that he's looking at and they tally it up one, like he's only seen one bird that day. But in that shot alone, you can see at least 3 different species. So that kind of bugged me.
Fucking A.
Yeah,
Did it lose another point?
Fucking A.
Also, to that point, I want to add Bostic's character starting in Arizona. He saw like 31 or like 34 species on the first day, which is that's not that great for being in Arizona in the winter. You should see probably 70, 80 species in one day if you're really trying.
Well, there you go, birders.
Well, but it's stated in the movie that he doesn't know if anybody is trying to have a big year over his number or not. So maybe he's half-heartedly doing it.
Yeah, but if you're traveling to start in Arizona and you're only putting half effort into that first day, I think you're wasting time because those species that he's not getting there's a lot of endemic species to Arizona that you could see. Example of the flicker species that lives there, not northern flicker, but gilded flicker that lives in Arizona. That's kind of only in Arizona that he should get. There's brittled titmouse that lives there. There's an Arizona woodpecker. He should have gotten all those, especially around Patagonia, which is at near the border. There's a hummingbird place right there in Patagonia that I've been to. Patton Center for Hummingbirds. It's in Patagonia. And that place is really good. And he should have gotten at least 50 species alone at that location.
One thing that I liked about the opening, you know me, occasionally I mention foreshadowing in these movies. This, right in the opening, we get foreshadows to like 4 different storylines going on. We get the fact that it's mentioned Brad is divorced, living at home, and is having issues with his dad. So we know throughout this movie, those 3 things are going to be covered. With Bostic, we know that, he's got the whole family thing going on. His wife wants to have a kid, and it's obvious that his marriage is falling apart. So that's foreshadowed that's going to be something we'll have to deal with later. And then with Stu, it's mentioned that, there's a baby on the way. He's going to have a grandchild. And then this whole work issue of, is he ever really going to be getting away from his job? That's going to be a story, that's going to hit us near the end as well.
Yeah.
So we're given a title card. It says January 1st. And then the count, Stu is at 29, Kenny's at 31, and Brad is at 1.
And poor Brad can't get away from work. They will not let him away. So that's why he's stuck at 1.
Which I feel like he's not working from before dawn to after dusk, right? Like he should have a little bit of time to get out there and into the daylight and see something.
Yeah, you think you could get 4 or 5 birds on the drive home.
Because he's in a coastal area. Like he should be able to go to the coast and just see like whatever flying by, pelicans or whatnot.
Pelicans.
I think they have brown pelicans over there.
They count.
So we get this scene where they're Brad's sitting down for dinner with mom and dad. And you could tell because dad's got mildly snarky little comments to Brad, about his status in life at the moment. And then we have Brad kind of sort of trying to slip in that, maybe could I get $1,000? And dad, he shuts him down hard. It goes poorly.
But I thought it was cute though, because mom's in his corner, and she says, I got a job as a travel agent,
which was convenient.
And it was Brad's travel agent. And, she kind of urges him or encourages him to ask his dad for the rest of the money. And you're right. Dad's not having it. He's, kind of like me. The fuck are you doing watching birds? And then so Brad's like, you know what? Fuck you, dude. I'll do it myself. And he takes off.
I do like the line of your life has been nothing but bliss, or that's why your life's been nothing but bliss. I did like that little dig at his dad.
Oh, because clearly, yes, their life has been nothing but bliss.
Yeah.
That's a good dig.
It's February 13th, day 44, and we get count for Pressler. He's at 157. So he's starting to move along.
When this first started, I kind of thought that, Owen Wilson's character would have had the lead and kind of been the leader the whole time. But I remember when I first saw this, I kind of thought that they were going to let Stu win, but he fucking doesn't. So
I really thought the beginning of this movie, the first time I saw it, that Brad was going to be the winner at the end by like 1 or 2.
They set you up for that as well.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
They do a good job keeping you guessing. But the fact that fucking Bostic wins anyway, it's just like, anticlimactic.
The next scene is we're in British Columbia, and Stu is trying to go into the backyard where this bird is spotted, and then we have Bostic where he shows up and he jumps. He runs around the side of the house, and I don't know, it's funny, but, I guess I felt like, what difference does it make who sees the bird first? If they both see the bird, then they both see the bird.
And that's kind of where I was at too, but I guess it makes for a dramatic effect, and Owen Wilson's funny doing it, and
I felt like it set us up for 2 things. One, you see that Stu has, I don't know if it's manners or honor, that he goes up and he talks to the woman and gets her permission and goes through all the process, where we get Bostic who just jumps the fence and does what he wants. He also, we don't know, could have shooed the bird away so that Stu did not get to see, because I don't think he got to see it. I think it flew away before he got to see that one.
There are some.
He breaks the gnome. He doesn't even get over the.
Yeah. So.
Oh no, he does see it because
it flies over. Yeah.
It was a very CGI looking bird.
I got 2 things to add. Or actually now 3 things. So they saw a Xantu's hummingbird, right, which is native to the Baja coast of Mexico, and they see it in British Columbia. That's actually a factual sighting. There was a Xantu's hummingbird in 1997 in British Columbia.
Well, fucking A.
And the CGI for that was accurate. There's a white stripe going through the eye on that CGI bird, which is accurate for the Xantu's hummingbird. And then the third thing about his character development in that scene, you were saying like how the ethics of birding. So there's kind of an ethics guideline of birding where you don't disturb the birds. You kind of observe them away. So scaring it off for Stu's character would have been against the ethics of birding, like how you don't call birds in if they're a rarity, or you don't call them in if they're out of breeding range. There's ethics around all that.
Couldn't I just go to the zoo and get like 100 birds?
Doesn't count. It has to be a rare, or it has to be
in nature.
It has to be, a wild bird.
I can't look at the rocket launch. The
trophy wives of the astronauts, and I won't listen to their words, 'cause I like birds.
Stu is the founder and CEO of an enormous Manhattan-based chemical conglomerate which he built from the ground up starting in his garage. After decades of corporate success, he is ready to retire to Colorado with his architect wife. Fear of an empty schedule led him to come back from a previous retirement, but now he wants to leave his company in the hands of his 2 lieutenants. The company is in the middle of a complicated negotiations to merge with a competitor, so his 2 anointed successors keep calling him back to New York for important meetings. To some extent, he is a prisoner of his own success. A big year has been his lifelong dream, and he's pursuing it with full support of his wife. The movie portrays various incidences that take place during the big year event, while the trio compete with each other and many other birders to achieve the world record of sighting the highest number of birds. Brad and Stu become friends and help each other in the competition, and Brad is attracted to a fellow birder, Ellie. Meanwhile, the highly competitive Bostic resorts to dirty tricks to boost his count while undermining the others.
The next date we get is February 20th. They're at the Joshua Tree, and Harris has a count of 132. February 22nd, we get Stu on the boat with Bostic.
That was in February?
February 22nd.
That'd be very early for a pelagic, which is what that trip is called.
Yeah, so that's the 3 of them out on the boat, and then
With Angelica Houston.
Yeah, Bostic makes him, Stu get seasick.
My favorite bit of that is when Steve Martin says, I was in a chemical accident and I have no sense of smell. How lucky is that, right? As they're gutting fish and chumming over the water.
Yeah.
So, but he still can get seasick.
Well, this is, I think, our first interaction that we see Stu around other birders, because as Stu is coming down, the dock or whatever, all the other birders are groaning, and Angelica Houston's character, what was her name?
Annie Aucklet.
She's like, we get a little flashback from her of why she does not like him especially.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He led a mutiny.
Right. And he still gets on the fucking boat. So
he's a very slick character the way he talks.
He must be doing something right. And after Steve Martin gets sick, he's sitting down below, and then Jack Black's character comes in, and this is where they kind of meet and start forming a little bit of a bond. I like their relationship.
Yeah.
I thought it was good natured, and Steve Martin was really kind of just looking out for him.
I almost felt like he was becoming the father that Brad needed at the time. Kind of like a father figure he could look up to.
I thought of him more as a friend.
You think so?
Yeah.
I saw it as a father character as well.
Yeah. So
we are given an account that Brad is at 202 and Stu is at 232. We get a scene now where Brad and Dad, they're sparring with each other. It's the phone bit.
Oh, right. I like how the mom's like, oh, your dad wants to talk to you. And the dad's like, fuck, I don't want to talk to him. And Jack Black's like, fuck, I don't want to talk to Dad. But fucking mom.
Yeah, mom being mom.
It shows that they both are almost, they're obviously father and son. They have a lot alike, except they just have different passions.
Oh, sure. And, eventually Brian Denny, he comes around, and which I think is a touching moment. But for now, Jack Black is feeling like his dad doesn't support him. But you know what? I'm going to fucking do it anyway. And he does.
What did you guys think of the whole idea of each of them hiding that they're doing the big year?
With nothing on the line, why?
The only thing, they kind of mention it later, but the only thing I could think of was the fact of they didn't want to encourage Bostic to go harder.
I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, and that's what they say. But again, I'm going to ask, why?
I do want to add, when Brad's character tells Bostic about Stu's big year and how he's up numbers, why would he do that? Because that only hurts him in theory in this movie.
Well, because he was trying to scare Bostic.
But if he scares Bostic, then he screwed himself.
Right. But again, none of this means anything, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, but
there's no trophy at the fucking end. There's no $100,000 check for seeing the most fucking birds. There's nothing but bragging rights. So why all the fucking gameplay? I'll tell you fucking why. Because it was written that way.
No, There is actually a reason behind a lot of it. In the birding community, there's another thing I read. people who are top of the list, high ups, or have a lot of potential get sponsors, and that pays for all of their flights, all of their food, all of their hotels, and so they can bird more professionally. So that's what they're after. They want to be, in that top 5, that top 10 to get those sponsors.
We are in Brownsville, Texas, and Stu, he's at the junkyard. He's at the dump waiting for crows.
Amalupus crows, or I believe that's how it's pronounced, which haven't been seen in the U.S. in like 3 or 4 years.
And again, the whole not being able to smell comes in handy.
Absolutely. And so we have the lieutenants, his subordinates show up and they beg him. And he says, fine, I'll come back for 2 days.
I do like the joke where he says, hey, look, everybody, vultures.
It's April 19th, day 109, and Bostic, he comes home to a very upset wife.
Well, yeah, he keeps fucking dipping out on her.
You felt she was justified, right? Because it seems like he had made promises to her and kept stringing her along, but then abandoning her and not showing up to things that he had promised to show up. I feel she's justified.
Yeah, why wouldn't she be? I mean, you're in a relationship together, right?
Yeah.
But she did know who she was marrying. I didn't feel too bad for her at all.
Well,
because, she obviously accepts him.
That was exactly what I was getting at, is that, first of all, she married a guy she knew this was very important to him. And I felt like they should have discussed it. He should have mentioned, I need to do the big year again, and put off this whole thing of having a child maybe 1 more year. Let him get his record again, and then say, you got to choose me this time.
Yeah, well, she did that already.
Yeah.
And he still chose to going after his record. So since he won again this year, chances are he did it the year after to protect his record.
So we have Bostic. He's finally making inroads with his wife, and things are beginning to get amorous, and he's going to win her over, and then what happens? Storm forecast warning.
I like this bit because Jack Black runs into his boss's office and we're having a fallout, and Anthony Anderson's first response is nuclear.
Yeah, that line was so well delivered.
And then he's like, no, bird. And then Anthony Anderson's response is just like, what?
Well, I'm thinking that's the one thing you never want to say at a nuclear plant.
Right.
Like saying bomb in an airport.
Yeah.
You just can't say that.
What if I was in the military and I was a bombardier? And then where's Stu when he finds out about this? Because they all three find out about this storm that's coming, this fallout thing, right?
Stu was coming back from Brownsville. He was in the office and he was about to close the meeting.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
He was grabbing the papers from the front desk.
Right.
Yep.
And so he leaves. And where is the fallout at? Where do they have to go?
Houston.
They went to Houston.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah, which makes sense for a fallout. Like, that's where a lot of bird migration is. It's in the Central Flyway, I believe it's called. Mountainous Flyway, something like that.
Yeah, we are told it's High Island. And so everybody's there, and guess what? Stu and Brad, they see each other, and, oh, hey, how you doing? And then, oh, geez, there's Bostic. Maybe we should follow him.
Bostic's character, when those two British dudes were saying how everything in America has to be a competition when they first get to the fallout, and then him flipping the bird and saying, have you seen this one yet? I like that line.
That was a good one.
Yeah, they got a chuckle out of
Speaking of the British dudes, Tom Nelson Blake.
Yes.
Tom Blake Nelson?
Yeah, he plays.
What is it?
Tom Blake Nelson.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another one. There's a lot of people in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Tim, yes. I'm with you, fellers. And then, so after the fallout,
This is where Stu and Brad go out to dinner.
I like this bit.
I did too.
I like how they start talking about just life and whatever. And, you know, this is the bit, I believe, where Stu says, we need to go see the snowcock. And Brad's very upfront and honest. He's like, I can't afford it. And then so Stu's like, fuck it, I'll pay for it.
It's on me.
I want to add that snowcocks, Himalayan snowcocks, do live in the Ruby Mountains of Nevada. That is a factual one, and there are helicopter tours that go out of Elko, Nevada, that fly around the mountains to look for them.
There you go, listeners.
One of my favorite things about this dinner scene, there's a few, but I love the humor in that, you know, at first, you know, Stu orders his food, then Brad just says, I'll have the soup. And he's like, why are you just having the soup? Well, you know, I can't afford anything. I don't have any money. He goes, come on, it's on me. I asked you out to dinner. You order whatever. And he goes, well, I was looking at the shrimp scampi. And he goes, too expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice little jab.
But this is also where we get Brad admitting that he's doing the big ear to Stu, and Stu not telling him it back.
Was that justified for him to not say?
Of course. Why should he have to?
Yeah.
It's exactly as Stu said. You told me. I didn't ask you.
Mhm.
You just came out and told me.
Like how they had that conversation on Atu when that dude was walking
You were
by.
ready to talk about it. I wasn't. So, I mean, Brad gets all butthurt about
I
it.
almost felt like they were coming out, but
Kind of,
Didn't it
right? I
feel like
mean,
kind of the-
why is it such a big fucking deal? That's the one thing I
Well,
couldn't get over.
Stu mentions later that Bostic has a way of getting information out of people, and he was afraid that Brad would tell Bostic that Stu's doing a big year, and then that would put Bostic into overdrive and all that. So he kind of got scared and didn't want to tell him.
Yeah, no, I get all of that. I'm just saying it's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
That's all I'm fucking saying.
I do like the joke. I'm going to jump ahead real quick when they're on Atu and Brad's character is talking about Stu, how like, oh yeah, you bought me drinks and you got what you wanted when that dude's walking by with no
right.
context. That's such a good bit.
There was a lot of these little innuendos, I think, throughout the movie.
We get a scene where Stu, he's out on a boat with other birders, and then we see him bolt into the cabin, obviously probably going to go throw up.
Mhm.
And then we have another guy that walks up and he flips open his journal.
Crane.
That was
Sheldon from
Parsons.
fucking
Yes.
Big Bang Theory.
Do you know what was interesting about his character in this movie?
His name was Ichabod's Crane.
He's obviously famous for the Big Bang Theory, playing Sheldon.
Mhm.
In that show, what is Sheldon's greatest fear?
Birds.
Birds. So in this movie, it's the opposite. He loves birds.
Never even put that together.
That's a great fucking Easter egg.
There
Good
you
job, buddy.
go. Yeah. I think that's why they picked him.
Fucking cares.
And he's obviously doing some kind of podcast or whatever on birds.
It was a blog or something,
blog.
and he reveals that Stu is doing a big year.
Which I feel like was a big violation looking
Yeah.
through his book like that.
He outs him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cheeky.
He not even just outing him, just his book was left on the deck and he walked up and starts reading through it. I feel like is a complete violation of something that looks like a journal.
Well, then don't leave your fucking journal or your book on the fucking deck.
Well, yeah.
Don't assume that everybody's nice.
But birders
Especially,
should be nice.
well, they're not. Clearly, they're not. Look at
95%
fucking
of the birders
Bostic.
are like
He's
great
selling people out. He's going behind people's back.
Yeah.
I bet you he does shoo fucking birds away because he's that kind of a competitive dick. There is no room for that type of person in the birding community.
And this was the media they were dealing with. So
Who?
Jim Parsons' character is the media, and they're going to,
But he was still
Resort-
watching birds.
he's going
Yeah,
to
he
unhide tactics.
But most of the birders are nice.
Point
They should be at
is-
that level.
Don't leave your fucking journal out if you don't want people to read it. It's real fucking simple. So that's on you, Steve Martin. That's your fault, bud.
He was asking
Well,
for
the
it.
same argument can be saying like you left your backpack somewhere when you're gonna go take a whiz, and then somebody looked through your backpack. It's like, well, no, it's kind of the same argument of you don't really have another place to look to set it when you're about to go throw up, and you had to rush out of this place.
It's on your backpack. You put it on your fucking back when you go throw up.
Okay, but the journal, he couldn't have taken it really into the toilet with him when he's going to throw up on a boat.
How about this? It was just a bad choice for him to leave that out.
True.
Just like if you're going to run into the bathroom, you do not leave your sheet music sitting out on the table.
Yeah.
God, that's where I was waiting for someone to get there. Thank you, Professor.
We get a moment where Stu calls home to his wife and he confesses to his wife that he feels bad about not coming out to Brad that he is having a big year as well. And so we see that there is some sincerity and a sense of, I don't want to say humanity, but he's definitely coming clean, at least to us, the viewing audience, that he wants to be a decent person.
Well, I think we also get the impression because when they first have their dinner and when they're first becoming friends, there's a little bit of question, at least there was a little question in my mind, is if Stu was kind of just trying to get information out of Brad and trying to find out what he knows and what maybe he knows about Bostic, or, you know, if he's birding, you know, if he's also going for the big year. I felt like he was trying to get it. This is one of our first indications that no, Stu really cares about Brad.
Oh, I thought he cared about him from the beginning. I thought he cared about him from the dinner.
I did too.
Yeah, that dinner scene is really good at showing their character, especially talking to the waiter and how they interact with random people that aren't really main characters of the movie. It shows their character and how they develop throughout the movie, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And so from here,
I too.
what'd you guys think of this whole bit? The whole leading up to it, I thought was pretty funny. And the fact that Steve Martin does miss his fucking plane, I thought was hilarious.
Well, Joey brought up the great point is this guy's like a multimillionaire even though there was only one plane flying, he could have gotten another plane. He
Well,
could have paid for
Doesn't he have a plane?
Yeah, I want to add something. So his company has a jet, right? But so he's clearly booked flights in advance from New York to Anchorage, which I assume this plane's taken out of Anchorage because that's probably where everybody's flying into to go to Attu. So he's already pre-advance booked this flight, and he made that flight that got him to wherever this flight from Attu is going. How did he miss the flight?
Bad traffic.
But still, that's not controllable on him. Remember, he was like late to leave New York. That scene doesn't dictate to how late he was in Anchorage to make the flight to Attu.
Maybe his flight out of New York was delayed. We don't know.
Could be.
The point is, he missed the fucking flight. Why doesn't he have his own jet take him? I don't know. He could have, but he didn't.
Maybe he should be able to charter a plane, but maybe there's no plane to charter at that airport.
That's possible as well.
The plane that just dropped him off, or did he take a cab? Or
He took a cab.
That was a cab. I'd say the plane dropped him off. Maybe he could have just flown to the island.
Yeah, I think he could have.
But what do you think also that we got this on the flight? We got this little sub story that started with the honeymoon couple. Do you think that was even needed, or they just added that in for just a little bit of extra humor?
I think they tried to make humor and it didn't really work on that scene.
I agree.
Or with those characters.
Yeah, no, it wasn't needed whatsoever.
It was almost too dramatic, where she goes outside with like her scarf and whatnot, and the character just wasn't likable enough to be funny.
No, yeah, I mean, they were reaching at that point.
Yeah.
That whole thing with the scarf was actually a callback or a call out to the movie Birds. That's why they put that in there.
It clearly rung like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like how they kind of, when they, Jack Black goes back into his narration, explains that like this is an island that nobody would ever want to go to if it wasn't for the birds.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have any flushing toilets.
Right. And they all live under one roof, and they all go looking at the birds, and there's a bird announcement, and everybody takes off except for Brad.
Rustic bunting.
Because he...
except for Bostic.
What did I say?
You said Brad.
Oh, it's a fucking difference. And he waits for the opportune time, and while everybody is going back and forth and tiring themselves out, he waits for when the bird shows up, and he sees it. And I was thinking, how is he the only one that knows that?
Well, I got the impression, especially when he first showed up, that we are told this is not his first rodeo. This is not the first time he's been to Attu.
Well, he's got his own fucking room.
I know. How'd nobody know about that?
And either he called ahead or he had paid somebody off, and they hid that room for him.
Yeah.
So when they started doing the whole running back and forth, he knew he had seen that bird before, probably in a previous year. He knew that bird would be flying all over the place before it would finally land and settle in one spot.
Here's a fun fact. Alaska is the westernmost as well as the easternmost state of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Fun facts.
We also get Brad and Stu having it out.
Yeah. So, hey, look at that. Stu shows up and Brad gives him a cold shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do something wrong? Are you mad at me? And yeah, they have it out. And this is where, like we said earlier, Stu was telling him, dude, you told me.
You got me drinking.
Yeah, you bought me drinks and you got what you wanted from me. And when the dude walks by, I love that.
Yeah.
Such a good bit.
I love how he also, Brad, when they start to kind of mend their fences, Brad admits, yeah, I told Bostic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have found out anyway.
Exactly. So now it's all out in the open. Everybody knows that everybody's doing a big year and the race is on.
Brad basically tells Stu, don't worry. You'll see everything that we already saw. We're leaving now, but you got a whole nother week. Good luck. The only thing that'll stop you is a blizzard.
A freak blizzard, yeah.
A freak blizzard. And next scene, freak blizzard.
Which I assume they're going in the summertime to Attu, which it's far enough north where they should also be able to get sunsets at like 11 p.m. and dawns. I don't know if it's northern or if it's Arctic Circle kind of level where they have 24/7 sun in June. But you're not getting a blizzard in June in Attu.
I think what this, though, is meant to tell us is that Stu is out of the race at this point. He's not going to catch up. I mean, he's like 50-something birds behind.
We do get a count while they're on Attu that Bostic, he's at 537, and Brad, he's at 534. So they're neck and neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the year draws to a close, Stu is happily retired and enjoying his newborn grandson. Brad develops a relationship with Ellie, and Bostic is alone as his wife has left him. Stu and Brad, now close friends, congratulate each other on a very big year, after each citing 700-plus bird species that year. When the big year results are published, Bostic won the competition with 755, a new record. Brad came in second, Stu was fourth. Brad opines that he, Bostic, got more birds, but we got more everything, as he looks at Ellie, who has come for a weekend visit. Stu smiles, looking at his wife. The film ends with Brad and Ellie birding together on a rocky coastline, while Brad confesses that birding is no longer the biggest part of his life. Stu is hiking with his toddler grandson, already enamored by birds, in the Rockies. Bostic is on a birding adventure in China, alone and gazing wistfully at a happy couple walking with their newborn child. Roll credits.
When they're looking for a blue-footed booby in Anacortes, that is a factual sighting that was seen in, I believe, 2008, 2009 by Ryan Merrill, who's the eBird reviewer in the greater Seattle area.
So we get a count as they leave. So we have Stu staying behind, but Bostic's at 629, Pressler's at 552, and Harris is right behind at 627. And then we get a very sweet little moment where Stu gives Brad some advice about giving Ellie, he wants her number, so in case they see a bird, they have an excuse to talk to each other.
And so when they're on the plane and Ellie gives Brad her number, do you think Brad had asked or Ellie had already thought about it and just did it?
I think Ellie just did it.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
That's how I took it as well.
Yeah, it was cute.
But this leads to a scene where she does call Brad and says, I have a rare bird. You can come see that pink-footed goose. It's in town here.
Yeah, me and my boyfriend.
Yeah, come see my pink-footed goose. And so he travels there, meets the boyfriend, and yeah, he's not so happy. And it's pretty obvious.
So we do get a montage of Brad's summer as he's racking up his bird counts. And then towards the end of the summer, that's where we get the Boston bit.
Yeah.
Well, when do we get where he gets derailed because his father has a heart attack?
That's where the Great Gray Owl is towards the end.
Well, because before that, he gets derailed and Stu tries to get him back into it.
They were at the helicopter place in the Ruby Mountains looking for the Himalayan snowcock.
Corbin Burnson is the fucking helicopter pilot.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I just fucking saw him in Major League. When's the last time you guys seen Major League?
That's been
I just watched that.
What?
It's been a while.
And so, yeah, they're in the helicopter flying around. And when they land, they're all excited. And then Jack Black gets the call. I thought Dad was dead, but I'm glad to see it was just a heart attack. And
I want to go back to the Anacortes bit. I love the way that if any of us have ever been up to Anacortes and you look at the ferry dock, what the fuck? That is so not the Anacortes ferry dock.
Same with the Skagit Wildlife Area. There's no mountain right there next to it. I do want to add their use of music in this movie with I Like Birds by the Eels, the acoustic instrumental version of Blackbird by the Beatles being used when Stu gets the call about his dad's heart attack, with his ringtone being all about birds, something. I don't know which song that is.
Well, one of them's Bird is the Word. That's
his ringtone. I think the use of music in this is really well done. The subtlety of music, I should say.
I like the Blackbird bit just because I'm a big Beatles fan. Not a huge Coldplay fan, so kind of rolled my eyes when that song came along.
When was the Coldplay one?
When they're walking along the fucking looking for birds. What the fuck?
Wait, which song?
La Vida Loca.
Oh yeah.
Living La Vida Loca.
Yeah. No.
I love the bit where all of a sudden we get Bostic walking over to the information, and then he goes running to his car and he takes off. He peels out, and then you get Stu and Brad. They run over. Oh my gosh! And they get in their car and they go taking off after him. And here comes Bostic. He circles back around and gets right back in the line. That was a pretty good little trickery there.
Well, it just shows how smart he is. He is very clever when it comes to this stuff.
That's why he's the fucking champ.
So we have this little moment that's exchanged when Dad is recovering back at home between Brad and his dad, where Brad gets his phone out he starts showing the different birds on the camera.
Well, Dad asks too.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we have Brad explaining, why this bird is his favorite bird. And Dad, he's starting to melt a little bit. He's softening up on this.
He just had a fucking heart attack.
Well, there was two things that I noticed about this scene. At first, it almost appears like Brian Dennehy's actually impressed with the pictures, the things. I think he's more impressed with seeing the passion from Brad, that Brad was actually passionate about something and actually cared about something this deeply. Before, he just saw it as, this is a fucking hobby that just costs money, and he's just going out and doing this and wasting time with his life, wasting his life. Now he's seeing there's something to it. This is something he really cares about, and if I care about him, I should be a part of it.
Well, you would think that with most people, you being excluded, John, having a near-death experience probably makes you want to be more closer with the ones you love.
Potentially, yeah.
I went out and went with you to look at the snowy owl.
You did, but you were kind of forced along because my mom was there.
It doesn't matter. I still went with you. You said I haven't gone birding with you.
That was a hostage situation.
I went and looked for the snowy
Doesn't
owl.
count.
And Julie was the one that found the snowy owl.
Doesn't count.
Why? I was in the car.
She made you go. You
Yeah.
didn't want to go. You didn't, Brian Denny.
You
here.
and I alone have never gone bird watching.
Never, not once have you gone bird watching.
Breaks my heart.
With young. It breaks his fucking heart. Are you listening to this? Oh, for fuck's sakes. I see you in a whole new light now. Fucking Cinderella's starting to pop into my fucking head.
Yeah,
You little stepfather.
So we are now at Santa Fe National Forest in New Mexico, and Stu, he happens upon Bostic, and they kind of sort of chat a little bit.
Well, this is where he overhears Bostic talking to some people, and the guy's like, I just did the sound and heard the bird, so I'm going to count it. And he's like, well, how do you know that wasn't somebody else doing the sound back to you?
Yeah,
And it's like, what does it matter?
They're showing us that Bostic is a true birder.
Yeah,
and I thought this was a nice little touch. And the fact that Stu hears it, kind of.
He shows integrity.
Yeah. And that he's really into it to win.
Because
I don't know what the fuck he's going to win, but he wins something.
Because we had heard earlier rumors that Bostic may have lied about some of the birds he's seen. And Stu finds out from right here, he doesn't lie. And I like how Stu kind of comes up to him, and you were saying that they warm up to each other. Stu says, you know what? I like you, Bostic. And Bostic responds with, I like you too.
No, he doesn't trust him, though, because he's thinking, you're going to do what you did to Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Gain your trust and then turn.
All right.
So we get this bit with Bostic where he is late for an appointment with Jessica at the hospital. And no, he'll be here. He's going to be here. And he's racing like crazy, and he's getting there. He's right there at the door.
At the fucking door. What a guy.
I know.
Fuchs calls.
Yeah.
Well, this is right here where we finally kind of get the answer of, is he choosing birds over family over birds? Before, it was pretty much, that's what it looked like. This right here, he makes the complete decision. He has now chosen that fuck family. I'm going after the bird.
And it wasn't even that good of a bird. It was a snowy owl.
But he'd never seen one. At that point, he had never seen one.
Stu calls Brad, but Brad can't pick up. So Dad picks up the phone, and they end up chatting. And then Dad gets this little nugget of information that maybe Brad might be looking at setting a world record. And that intrigues Dad.
Yeah, and this is where they decide to go for a walk, right?
Well, this is where the dad sees also an opportunity of, I'm going to go do something with him. Let's go see if we can do this together so that maybe I can understand him a little bit better.
Yeah, so he goes out, they go out together to look for an owl.
One thing that I really like about this scene and about Jack Black's acting and everything in this movie, this what I thought was kind of his big moment, in that the father gets tired, has to stay back, and Jack Black heads off into the woods. And then, unlike Bostic's character, he realizes what I just did.
Mm-hmm.
I left him behind. I should have stayed with him. And he basically chooses his father over the bird, where he heads back to his father, and says, basically makes that more important.
And it works out for him just fine because Dad found the owl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought, even just the emotion on his face and then the response, I thought Jack Black did really well in this scene.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
We have Bostic coming home, and he's looking for his wife, and then he hears his wife say, Frankie, is that you?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Again, this whole bit isn't needed.
Did you think someone might be in the closet?
No,
I thought Frankie was going to show up in one of those little leopard Speedos or something.
no, I didn't think it was going that way. The way they play it out makes sense.
Did you believe her story that she had friends coming over?
Yeah, you had the New York Jets bag on the coffee table at the front door.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that.
I did not see that.
So you mentioned that whole Jack Black scene ends with Brian Dennehy's character finding the bird. And
Are we still talking about this?
this is where we kind of see the change in Brian Dennehy that he now understands and appreciates.
Yeah.
We're still talking about this?
Both of them are in a happy place with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Roll credits.
And this kind of...
All right, what do you guys think? You guys ready to rate that?
Well, this is what also reinvigorates Brad into wanting to get back together with Stu and find more birds.
Mm-hmm.
And now, is this where they decide to team up?
Yes.
No, they teamed up way earlier.
Okay, cool.
Way before
Anyways, they were teaming up to try to beat him.
Great
The
Owl.
point is, it doesn't fucking work because Bostic wins.
Well, I think this is that part was where they were already teamed up, but this is where Stu basically says, I have no chance of winning, so I'm going to help you win.
Pays for his flights, I assume. I don't think that's ever mentioned explicitly, but
Oh, he was his sugar birdie daddy.
Mhm.
That's for sure. Driving him around, paying for his trips. Who knows what Brad had to do for that? But Steve Martin's a rich old white guy.
he bought him drinks and got what he wanted.
So we're given a title card. Well, it's not a title card, but November 27th, it's day 331. And this is the bit where, oh, shit, it's Thanksgiving. And neither one of them knew it.
Mm-hmm. The winter storm that was coming through in Coos Bay, and they took the boat out. They went over to the dock.
We got Annie to take.
Yeah, and they saw the sign.
Take
like,
him out.
Well, also, so she added that sign to the dock, clearly saying, "Oh, it's Thanksgiving. We're not doing birding." They're done with pelagics by that time. In basically November, there's nothing left in the northern hemisphere that hasn't migrated down to the southern hemisphere, basically, except for maybe Arctic migrants that are coming down, like long-tailed duck or black scoter or something. They're not going to see those. Maybe yellow-billed loon, but you wouldn't go on a pelagic to see that. Like, this is not a plausible point in the movie where they're taking a boat.
I do like that Annie basically agrees to take them out on the boat because they're trying to beat Bostic.
Oh, yeah, she's doing that out of spite.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
The way the movie ends with announcing that Bostic won, but also lost. He basically lost his wife, lost the possibility of the family with her, lost that. And then the other two characters really got what they were looking for and really had a satisfying ending. Brad didn't care that he came in second because now he has Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
And he has someone to share his hobby, his passion, everything with. And he even says, I found something more important.
So the moral of the story is, if you want to win the big year, prepare to be alone for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Be prepared to that be your focus, that be your passion, and that everything else goes to the side if you really want to win.
Okay, but we do get this phone call between Brad and his dad where dad is happily talking to him and he's eager to hear his latest exploits. And we hear that he has broken the previous record. He's at 734 now.
Yeah.
And so he's having a pretty good time, right? Between him and his dad. They seem to have found their way back together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Winners, all of them, because there was really nothing to win. But
it's December 24th, and we have this bit where we have Bostic. He's by himself on Christmas Eve eating Chinese food in an empty restaurant.
Where was he at? Which city?
Duluth, Minnesota.
That's a terrible place to just be stuck eating Chinese food, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. I feel like the Chinese cuisine in Duluth, Minnesota is not great.
December 29th, Stu gets a phone call that he's getting the deal of the century. You got to come back.
They're going to offer him double his old salary or just
but
an
doesn't
amazing salary?
he ultimately turns it down though, right?
Well, he makes them think for a second that he's coming back. He's like, no, I'm not coming back.
So he turns them down ultimately, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he gives a sort of a goodwill hunting ending. Can't do it, guys. Got to go help a friend find a bird.
Yep.
Which is nice because earlier on they say he returned from retirement because he was afraid to let go. This shows us here he's gotten over that fear, that this whole big year and his friendship with Brad has helped him get over that fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
December 30th, it's day 364, and Stu and Brad, they are trying to find a pink-footed goose. And this is where it's revealed to us that Brad's number is 741. December 31st, and then we have the quest for the snowy owl.
He finally,
Assumedly in Duluth, Minnesota.
he finally gets it, right?
Yeah, he does.
It was like 10 seconds before midnight or like 5 seconds before midnight.
Yeah.
And he sees in the woods, which is not where you'd see a snowy owl. You'd see a snowy owl out in the open because they hunt fields.
Would you see him?
Unless you're Owen Wilson, then you saw it in the fucking woods.
You'd see it in snow.
Some time has passed. We don't know how much time has passed, but Ellie gives Brad a phone call and they start talking.
I love that when she says, I broke up with my boyfriend, and Jack Black's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love how she heard him do the happy dance.
Yeah.
Or celebratory.
Yeah,
It was
and she
cute.
asked him, "Did you just do a victory dance?"
Yeah, it was cute.
And he's like, yeah.
I think his acting when he answered that was really good. The way he delivered those lines.
And then it's revealed to us a little bit later. We don't know how much time. Stu, he's checking the mail and he has his birding magazine. And it turns out that we have the big year totals on page 46.
Bostic wins. Brad comes in second. Someone comes in third. And
Yeah.
Stu comes in fourth.
Yeah, we don't know what number Brad has. It's only revealed that Bostic got 755.
At that moment, but
No.
we do find out.
No, it's not revealed to us at the end of the movie. Well, I guess you could go with the 741 because that was on December 30th.
But don't they tell us that Brad came in second?
Yes.
Yes, but
yeah, okay. Well,
so-
that's what I said.
so it's probably 741 because we know that Stu's fourth and we don't know how many that was. But Bostic is the only number mentioned from the magazine article that he got 755.
I got you. Okay.
One thing I was trying to point out earlier when I mentioned the real Bostic's numbers is it shows he went on to do the big year at least one or two more times. I mean, he's done it more times. So he still, as we mentioned earlier, as you mentioned, Don, is, he had chosen birding over his family that second year, probably would have done it multiple times. Well, he did. He went on to do it more times. So he would have probably screwed over his wife every year.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we get a quick little voiceover, Brad narrating how, the two end up having their life go after this big year. And then the movie ends. I really dug having all 755 pictures in the credits.
Really well done.
Those were actual pictures of what the winner that year had seen.
Oh, really? The ones that they've taken?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they took them specifically, but it was the birds that he had seen. They were showing all the birds that the winner saw that year.
And it goes by family.
Yeah, I
Breaks
turned it off. So there you go.
Oh, you didn't see that part?
That was one of the best parts because as we were watching it, Joey was naming all the birds.
I would have smacked him.
Gotta.
And that was the big year.
Welcome to a new segment that we like to call
Face the wheel.
The premise is simple. I'm going to spin the wheel in whatever category comes up. John and Joey will apply it to the movie that we are currently reviewing. Once they have presented their idea to me, I will decide who the winner of this week's wheel is. So here are the categories: mashup, plot, rename, genre, reboot, alternate ending. I liked it better when it was called Spin Again. Pick any. Add any character from any movie. Here we go.
Plot.
A new plot for the big year. What was the fucking plot to come up with the big year? I guess in mine, the plot would have been, oh, fuck, I don't know. Do you have one?
If I was going to do a plot, I think I would have focused more on maybe just a couple of characters. Can be, we had Stu and Brad, but I would have liked to see maybe a following year of Brad and Ellie as a couple dealing with the stress of being on the road all the time, looking for these birds and seeing if their relationship could work through this to, if Brad is becoming too obsessed and pushing too far for this, this hobby of theirs, this life pursuit of theirs.
Saying like a sequel?
Kind of like a sequel, but I would have done a little bit more.
I thought that this movie couldn't get any more boring but you just fucking added to it.
I'd make it more.
That is fantastic. You just made it more boring.
Mine
Like
would have
Cars
been.
2.
Mine would have been more of a romantic comedy than a dramedy, more than just a dramatic comedy.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. My plot is instead of birding, they are on the hunt for buried treasure. Because at least with buried treasure, you can physically pick it up and say, hey, I won. Whereas birding, I don't know what the fuck that's about.
So, in other words, you just made an entirely different movie.
Yeah, I changed the plot.
That's what. Wait, what movie? Jumanji? No, not Jumanji.
It's out there.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
No? No?
I'm blanking.
Anybody?
National Treasure?
No, The Goonies.
Okay.
This was after The Goonies. So, yeah, I changed the plot completely.
But it's still, you can change the plot of a birding movie.
Yeah, it's no longer birding related. Just a different movie.
There's a lot well, you changed the plot. So, yes, it's a different movie. Okay, there's birds flying around and they like to fucking see birds.
I feel like you still have to get from A to B, but you just change the story in between. So it's still a birding movie, but with a different plot. How do you make,
that's what I just did.
How do you make a good birding movie?
You can't, because it's a very boring subject.
Alfred Hitchcock did it.
I've got a good one for a plot for making a good birding movie.
Oh, fucking hit me, please.
All right. I think you turn this into almost like a, maybe not even a movie, but like a TV show, like Parks and Rec, where you've got 2 people, maybe 3 people that run a birding tour guide or are working at an Audubon Society or like a state park or something and do birding tours. And like, it's just the day-to-day, but comedic relief style of what that job takes.
I was wrong. He made it more boring.
What do you mean? That's so good.
I actually kind of like the direction of that idea of making it an office or Park and Recs, like someone's making a documentary about people, like a mockumentary about people who are so obsessed with birds, and turn that into a comedy.
A little bit like Best in Show.
Yeah. Oh, no, I got it. Still doesn't make it interesting. But there you go. All right. So who's the winner?
So the point this week goes to Joey.
Yay.
And so there you have it, listeners. And that concludes this week's
Face the Wheel.
All right, what do you guys think? You guys ready to rate this flick?
I'm ready to rate this flick. What about you, Joey? Are you ready to rate this flick?
I'm ready to rate this flick. What about you, John? Are you ready?
Ready? Oh, I'm perched and preened for this. I've been nesting on my thoughts, just waiting to swoop in with some feather-ruffling insights.
Oh, well, there you go. Professor, how do we do our ratings?
We do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that we think is cinematic gold. A 1 fuck movie is where you get done watching it and you're thinking to yourself, I'm never watching this again.
And what's a 0?
A 0 fuck movie is where you get done watching it, you turn to your buddy and you say, oh, for shit's sake, what the hell? Why would you make me? I want 1 hour and 40 minutes of my life back.
Or in other words, we just don't give a fuck. All right, Joey, here at the Three Guys, it is customary that the guest either gets to go first or can choose to defer. So it's your choice.
I can go first.
All right, fucking fire away.
All right, I am giving this a 3.5 out of 5. I think the comedic relief could have been done better. I think the cast was spot on, but the writing could have been there a little bit better. I think tying into the comedic relief. I think if you're not interested in birds, this could easily be brought down another point, down to a 2.5. If you're not interested in birds at all, you're probably going to hate this movie. But I think for what it is, as a birder, it's all right. I would watch it probably once every 2 years.
All right, well, there you go. 3.5 fucks from Joey. Who wants to go next?
I'm going to go next.
All right, fire away.
The Big Year is a movie that I have never even heard of, and I was pleasantly surprised when I looked at what the cast had, because it was a lot of people that I recognized. Oh, that's really cool. So I thought, okay, this should be okay. And the characters played by Steve Martin, Owen Wilson, and Jack Black, the characters are nice. And I like the actors more than I like the characters. And the characters are okay. And I think that what ends up making the movie somewhat passable for me to watch is just the simple fact that it's nice to have Steve Martin and Jack Black together being nice to each other. I just enjoyed that aspect of the movie. As for the birding part, knew nothing about any of that. So it was very educational in that regard because I had no idea about that there was this whole to do when it comes to birding. The length of the movie, I wish it was a little bit shorter. The tempo of the movie is okay. I think that, having Owen Wilson playing the antagonist worked all right, but there was nothing that really got me going about the movie. And it's probably, I don't know, more like 2 fucks, I think.
2 fucks from the professor. All right, I'll go.
You go next.
I think I will. The Big Year, though having a pretty good cast, I expected it to be a little bit more funny. The topic of bird watching, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, but for me, it's boring. I don't see the appeal, but that's just me. And so for them to try to loop me in and capture me, I think their hearts were in the right place. The movie is very soundly made. The needle drops are really good. I like what they did with Blackbird and some of the other songs. But overall, I thought it was boring. And like you were saying, Professor, is a wee bit too long. There are moments where Steve Martin, Owen Wilson, and Jack Black all shine, and I appreciate that because I appreciate them as actors. But overall, I don't think this is something that I would probably watch again. So I'm going to give The Big Year 2.5 fucks. Right there in the middle.
That's higher than I thought you were going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like to think that every movie has redeeming qualities, and I've definitely seen worse movies, and I've definitely seen better movies. But as a movie, but as on its own, it's soundly made. It's not horrible. It's tolerable. So it's about in the middle of the road for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
This is the best bird watching movie out there. There are a couple others, but they do not have the budget of this, and they are difficult to watch. Even I couldn't finish them, really.
Should I go next?
you're the only one left
I was
there,
gonna
guy.
say, is there anybody else to go?
Oh, well, I guess so. Before I do, Don, you've been out for a while, been gone for a while. You're a little out of practice. You want to try to guess my rating before I give it?
You're going to give it 2.25 fucks.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Okay. The Big Year didn't exactly soar at the box office. This movie likely speaks more to folks who connect with it. It's quirky. It's a quirky comedy that's more heartwarming than laugh out loud funny. The three main actors, Steve Martin, Owen Wilson, and Jack Black, are famous for either playing slapstick characters or romantic leads. In this movie, it felt like they were trying to play somewhere in the middle of that. The birds themselves are a big part of the charm. Watching the guys light up every time they spot something rare is genuinely endearing, even if you don't know a hawk from a heron. Ultimately, the movie's moral is about finding balance, finding a way to chase your dreams without losing sight of what truly matters. I recommend The Big Year to anybody who's into quirky comedies, nature lovers, or people with a soft spot for birds. As for my rating, it's a solid 2.5 fucks out of 5. It's a unique little film, not groundbreaking, but definitely worth a watch if you're in the mood for something different.
Oh, well, there you go. 2.5 fucks from the comic book guy, 2.5 fucks from me, and 2 fucks from the professor. That gives The Big Year an average of 2.3 fucks, which now puts it in the 33rd spot by itself. It is slightly better than Say Anything, Basketball, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And it is slightly worse than Lone Wolf McQuade, American Psycho, Bone Tomahawk, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's some interesting company.
That is some interesting company. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. If you would like to know which movie we're going to be reviewing next, please check out the website. Speaking of which, hey, John, where can they find us?
They can always find us at our website, threeguysinaflick.com, where we go ahead and post our show notes. You can find all of our podcasts, and there's a web form on there that you could submit a movie you would like to go in the Bronco helmet for us to review next. You can find us at all of social media, and the fact that you're listening to our podcast right now, go ahead and give us a comment, a like. We'd love it if you subscribe and suggest a movie you'd like to hear.
All right. I want to thank Joey for coming out and coming onto the podcast. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
I thought that you had a lot of stuff to say, and I think he's probably been the most talkative of the guests that we've probably had on.
I do want to add, for anybody that made it to the end who's interested in birds and doesn't know where to get started, you can start at ebird.org, which is run by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology out of Ithaca, New York. Just create an account. You can start birding there. It teaches you how to do everything.
I'm checking it out.
And I want to thank anyone who listens and who has suggested a movie. If you keep listening, we'll keep recording. For Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
I'm Ken.
And I'm Joey. This has been a true podcast, only the plot has been changed.
Three guys with some mics, yeah, done into the flicks. We're here for the real talk, no time for the tricks. Don as the captain, steering us right. Kid drops now is shedding light. John with the comics, bringing the hype. From the good, the bad, to the absurd, we break it down, make sure you heard. Passion for the screen, we ride or die about movies. You know we always give a fuck, no lie.
Are you recording?
No, dude,
No,
I'm
John,
not.
He's not.
He hasn't been here in a long time.
I got across the border just fine. They love me in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Atatu Island, my name is Don. And to my right, we have the... Why are you shaking your head? Did I pronounce it wrong?
Yeah,
Well,
Attu Island, ATTU.
How do you say it?
Attu. You said it like attitude.
Nature and Fowl Obsessed by Mark Obasnuzdas.
Obsession.
What did I say?
Obsessed.
What's the fucking difference?
What was the name pronunciation again?
This movie was made for $8 million and brought in $41 million.
Flip those numbers.
I think you might have them backwards.
Oh, fuck. See? that kind of goes along with this fucking movie.
Oh, what do you mean?
No offense. Right on.
I like sitting in that seat.
I know you do, but guess what, fucker? This is my seat, and I'm back.
Yeah, welcome back, by the way.
Yeah. What was it?
Didn't hear it.
Because it's not fucking playing. John, what the fuck did you do? Okay, let's try this one.
I'm sorry, I said bluebird. I guess I meant blue jay.
Yeah, you got to be fucking specific. See what happens when you try to interject shit?
It's all in the details.
Semantics.
I get blue jays all the time.
You're going to learn a lot about birds on this podcast.
No, you're not.
Welcome to the Birding Podcast.
Do you have a favorite bird, Joey?
I think it's probably a tie between painted bunting and maybe scissor-tailed flycatcher.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I dated one of those.
Their names are...
I don't care and I don't give a fuck. Oh, Mr. I don't care and Mrs. I don't give a fuck.
I didn't get Atlantic puffins. I got tufted puffins. I didn't get horned puffins because I didn't go up to Alaska.
Hey, Don. You're welcome. Do you have any?
I have one.
Okay. My best one, I think, was the big rear.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that.
Or in her rear.
Yeah,
But I think the big rear.
the big rear because you work in the big. The only one I have was the big smear.
Ooh, that's not bad.
I like the big rear.
I
better.
don't know if I'd watch the big smear.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Do you understand what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
What do you got? You got one?
It was Ken's big idea.
Yeah,
I don't have an idea yet.
Professor started all this, but that's all right.
Fuck off.
Do you got one, by the way?
The big queer.
Oh,
Well, if you're into gay porn, yes.
yeah. Why do you? Yeah, there was nothing wrong with that. You immediately took it to a negative place.
I felt negative for a second, but then realized, no, it's equal opportunity.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing negative about that. I like that one. That's the fucking winner. All right, may all of your days and nights be filled with happiness. All right, fuck off. Good night.
Catch the vibe as three guys in a fight, keep the passion alive.